भगवतो पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम तत्सत। So I'm opening and sharing the text with you. We were discussing about Shastriya Dvaita, and Shastriya Dvaita, he also divides. We are doing Dvaita Viveka Prakarana. There is Jiva Dvaita and Ishvara Dvaita, Jiva Srishti and Ishvara Srishti. And Ishvara Srishti we cannot refute, so let's not fight with it. So far the Jiva Srishti is concerned, again that Jiva Srishti or that Dvaita, Dhimaya Dvaita, that is again of two types. One is Sastriya, the other one is Asastriya. And the Sastriya Dvaita, Asastriya Dvaita, of course, we have to discard, but the Sastriya Dvaita is not Badhaka, apitu Sadhaka. Like Ishvara Srishti is also Sadhaka, natu Badhaka. There are three reasons as to why we should not fight with the appearance of Prapancha as true. Once we have ascertained our Mithyatva Jnana, that this samsara is basically an appearance. Once we have confirmed this with Vichara, we should not be bothered about its appearance as if it is real. We should not be bothered. Like, even after we know how a magic trick is being performed, the magician will show whatever he knows, and others will clap, and we should not be bothered. The sky will continue to appear as blue even after we know through our study of physics that it doesn't have any color, it appears as blue. And the mirage, there will be a lake like appearance of water body, in fact, in a desert during a hot summer afternoon, and we shall not be bothered. Similarly, Sansara, Dvaita Prapancha will continue to flourish right before our eyes, but we will know that only Brahman is real on which all this is superimposed. Then, therefore, we will not be bothered. Having said that, now he's saying even Dvaita Prapancha, which is Baddha Karana, is not 100% Baddha Karana. This Dvaita Prapancha that we are looking at can be Sastriya and Asastriya. The Sastriya Dvaita means what? Because we accept this Dvaita Prapancha, even though we are students of Vedanta, we can do some Upasana. We will do Sandhya Vandanam in the morning. And then you take a bath, you go to a temple, or you go to your college, you teach students, you do your job, you discharge your responsibilities towards the family members. When you become more serious, when you withdraw from samsara and fully dedicated to Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana, even then, the very fact that you have to do Shravana, you will have to accept the book as real. You have to respect the teacher as real. You have to look at the arguments as real. Otherwise, how will you do it? If you do not consider the deity who is sitting in a temple to be divine, you shall not be able to do upasana, you shall not be able to do bhakti. Therefore, he's saying, until you have established yourself in Tattva Bodha, you have to accept even that part of Shastriya Dvaita, which is very useful. And then, how long we have to stick with it? Brahma abodhana Brahma ababodhana sadhakam sastriyam dvaitam bibrunati atmaiti. And what is that? That we have already done. I'm just quickly reading through it so that we go to the next verse. Atma Brahma vicharakhyam sastriyam manasam jagat. This is also a mental creation. Paramarthatah, this is not real. You have to accept it. So, Paramarthata, there is nothing. No sadhaka, no sadhana. There is, he's saying, Paramarthata in the Mandukya Karika, for example, Gaudapadacharya writes that ultimate sense, if you want to look at the ultimate sense, there he says, Nanirodha nachotpattir nabandha nasasadhakaha. In ultimate sense, there is no nirodha, manavritti, chittavritti nirodha. What chittavritti? No chittavritti is real, just a flourishing of maya. Na nirodha, na chutpattir. There is no utpatti, so there is no need for any nirodha. But I am having all these mental things. Yeah, yeah. These are all appearances. And your sadhana is also an appearance. What you get is also an appearance because ultimately only Brahman is real. Na nirodha, na chutpattir, na bandha, na sasadhaka. There is no bondage, so what effort you require to actually overcome it? And then he says, ultimately, namumukshur navi muktihi. There is no moksha kami, mukti kami. Mumukhyutva, if you have aspiration for liberation, then you will have some sadhana, right? Namumukshur navi muktihi. There is neither any aspiration for liberation nor there is anyone liberated. That means all this sadhana are all fruitless. He's saying, no, ityevam paramarthata. If you are looking about ultimate truth, ultimately nothing is there. You know, so the real Vedanti, in Kailash Ashram, you had Harihar Maharaj. He was very ill, a very dedicated Vedanti. He was a Atmagyani. He was lying on the bed, and the next Mandaleshwar went near him. He had acute pain in the leg. He said, "How is the pain?" It was just a few days, couple of days before his death. "How is the pain?" He just looks at him and he says, "Whose pain?" He's asking, "How is the pain? Is it too acute?" And he's saying, "Whose pain?" Because he was firmly established in his Atmagyana. He had completely dissociated himself from his body. So, in ultimate sense, all this is a game, all this is an appearance, and that sort of a realization will make this whole game very superficial. However, until we are there, we have to accept all this. That is what he says. Atma Brahma Vicharakhyam Pratyak Atma Parabrahmano Swarupa Vicharam Sravanadi Rupam Tadakyam Sastriyam Sastra Sammatam Manasam Jagat. What is that Sastriya Dvaita Prapancha? Manasam Jagat. It's a mental creation, but it's a positive mental creation, aspirational in nature. Sastra Sammatam. Because why? Shastra says you should do Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, you should do Sandhya Vandanam, you should do Upasana. Shastra says. So it's Shastriya Dvaita. And what is the nature of this Dvaita? For why you are doing this Shastriya Dvaita? What is the sadhana? Atma Brahma Vicharakhyam. Atma, Pratyagatma, and Brahman, the Paramatma, is one. That Aikya Bodhatmaka Vichara. That is the name of this sadhana. Pratyag Atma Parabrahmanoho Swarupa Vicharam. Swarupa to Eka eva. Sravanadi Rupam. So you need to do Sravana Manana Nididhyasana. First you have to listen to the Guru. Upadana Kalavadhi Pramanayati. How long is it useful? How long? He's explaining. Buddhe iti, until you are realized. Tattve Pratyak Brahmekye Buddhe Gyate Sati. When that thing is realized, we know fundamentally Aham Brahmasmi. I am Atma Brahma, Prajnanam Brahma. These are the meditations. Mahavakya will go in the next chapter. Tacha Sastriyam Dvaitamapi Heyam iti Shruti Anusasanam Shrutinam Ragya Iva Anulanghiya Ajnatvad. Now, what he's trying to say is you cannot trespass, overcome, ignore, or sidestep from what is prescribed in the Shruti. Shruti says, read me, I'm your mother, I'll take you to liberation. But Shruti also says that once you have reached there, you don't need to hold on to me. Mother loves the child. When the child becomes 5 years of age, the mother pushes the child away, says, go to the school. Similarly, all these Dvaita Prapancha, which during sadhana kala are very upadeya, have to be discarded. There's no point hanging on to them once Atmagyana has dawned on a person. And right, the king advises and we have to follow the rules. This is what the Shruti advises. Now there is a doubt in the mind of the student. He's saying, but sir, there are certain Smriti, there is no particular text. I was looking for where exactly these couple of lines are there. It is referred to in different Shankara Bhashyas and different other books, Prakarana Granthas. Now the sentence is like this: Asuptir amritehe kalam nayed vedant chintaya. Like during the day till you fall asleep, and so far your life is concerned, till you die, you should focus your mind on Vedanta Chintana, that Brahma Satya Jaganamithya Jiva Brahmaiva Naparaha. That is the focus of your meditation. We need to constantly meditate on this supreme truth, that this flourishing Jagat, that is diverse, complex Jagat, so many news items, social media, blah, blah, blah. These are all like waves. The ocean is real, not the waves. And you do meditations looking at the Mahavakyas. Na dadyad avasaram kinchit kamadinam managapi. You should not give a little option, no avasara, no chance to any sansarika prabritis to come and invade us. This is for whom? The guy who has taken Vividisa sannyasa, sitting in meditation, and therefore he should not look back into the sansara. We have a lot of purva sanskaras. So you meet an old classmate, you meet an old relative, you may have become a monk, but for him, you are his friend or you are his brother or uncle or whatever. So they try to connect with you in the light of old inherited relationships. Very difficult to shake off old sanskaras. So the Vedanta in the student has to be very careful. And the Shastra advises whole day you should preoccupy your mind with this, and then till death you should do. Why is he saying this? Because we just now said that Dvaita Prapancha is relevant until you have got Atmajnana. But this particular statement says that until you die, you should do Vedantic meditation or contemplation. Now there is a conflict. The Panchadasikara just now said that you should discard all these Dvaita Prapancha, these dualities, which are necessary for your Upasana and Vedanta Chintana once you get Atmajnana. They are superfluous, not required anymore. However, there is a Shruti Vakya which says, no, until you die, you need to meditate on the Shruti Vakyas and the Vedantic contemplations you should continue with till you fall dead. So, how can you say that I can discard claiming one fine morning that I have got Atmajnana? He's saying, Nanu asuptir amritehe kalam nayad vedanta chintaya iti vakyena manasikam dvaitam amaranam ahayam iti chet. Amaranam, till you dead, till we are dead, ahayam, we cannot discard it. It's not here, apitu upadaya eva. That is what is the doubt in the mind of the students. The Acharya says, no, 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 it's not like that. Why? Asya vakyasya anutpanna jnana vishayatvat. Any particular advice in our Shastriya tradition and parampara, especially in Kevala Advaita, is always targeted with at a student at a certain level of his sadhana. So when the mother explains 2 plus 2 is 4, she looks at these fingers or she uses chocolates or sticks or whatever, or candles or whatever, and tells the child, this is 2, this is 2, now count 4. She doesn't do the same thing to her elder son who may be about 10. He's already in class 4, no, or 5. No, she doesn't do it. He says, what are you doing? You don't know how to count it? Why you are touching your fingers? She herself had taught this. This is called Adhyaropa Apavada. So, like the best thing that we do in mathematics, we don't know what is the value of a variable. What do we say? Let's presume it's x. That is Adhyaropa. And that x value we attribute to a variable is discarded once we know the value. We don't write x. We say therefore x is equal to 2.7. That's the answer we have got. But to start with, we are presuming, let's presume it's x. That is adhyaropa, then apavada. So similarly, this Dvaita Prapancha is real, let's presume, and then do sadhana. You do Shaligram Pujanam, you do Ganesh Pujanam, Saraswati Pujanam. Many of the, like for example, in all the Vedanta ashrams in Rishikesh, uh, they, they celebrate Janmashtami with a lot of vigor and love. Also do Shivaratri for themselves. No, it's for the Grihasthas, the Bhaktas. They participate. They just quietly go back to the room and to read Upanishads. But they say it's the rituals are done. Everything is done with great accuracy. But that is for what is called Loka Shangraha. It's for others, not for themselves. That is what he's saying. Anutpanna Jnana Vishayatvad. It's only meant for the guys who are not yet there. Ataha eva uktam buddhe tatveti. Therefore, it is advised that once you get Atmajnana, you don't need to hang on to this Dvaita Prapancha, this Shastriya Dvaita, even Shastriya Dvaita is perfect or real. No, you can discard it. तावत् पर्यन्तं तस्य उपदेयतां श्रुति अपि अंगीकरोति इति भावः. Even the Upanishads, the Vedantic literature, they approve of dualist sadhana until you have reached there. Bhakti and Upasana are dualist sadhanas, Dvaita sadhanas. Now, he's at one straight, there are four slokas because he said that Shruti. He's saying Shruti api angikaroti. Upanishads also approve. Where is the proof? That is the question. He's saying Tattva ababodha uttaram manasasya heyatva pratipadikam kramasaha amrutanada brahma vidu brihad aranyaka mundaka shruti udaharati sastrani iti. So four Upanishads and specific sentences are now cited as proof that actually the Vedantic literature approve of this path of sadhana where we would accept dualist practices in the beginning, and then slowly, once we have Atmajnana, then we do not need any of these. In the beginning also, Bhagavan has advised in Bhagavad Gita, you do Nishkama Karma. First do Kamya Karma. It is better than tamasic thing, a person who doesn't follow any rules. Kamya Karma, okay, you will do some pujanam, you'll do Sandhya Vandanam, you're doing it for your children, but at least you're going to a temple, you're taking a bath, you're doing some Vedic mantra chanting and all. That's also useful. It gives some antakarna suddhi. A lot of acharyas say. Then you become nishkama. Say, no, I don't need anything. I need purity. And in addition to that, you have that Ishwararpana buddhi. You have samarpana bhava. For God, you are doing it. And then He rewards you with internal purity. Then we have completed Upasana. There is a bit of Vairagya which is born. And then we take Vividisa Sannyasa. We go to Guru Upasadanam. Sostriyam Brahmanishtam Gurum Upagache. Sostriya Samit Panihi. You will go. Sotriyam Brahmanishtam Samit Panihi. So you with this lakdi, they for the Yajnasala and other things, you go and you sit and you start your sadhana there. Now let's look at the verse number 45. I will read all. There's one more this side, so all four shlokas I will read and then we will analyze one by one. शास्त्राण्यधीत्य मेधावी अभ्यस्य च पुनः पुनः परं ब्रह्म विज्ञाय उल्कापत्तान्यधुत्सृजेत्. Shastrani adhitya. Adhitya Shastrani. You read all the texts. This is Dvaita sadhana. Dvaita in the sense is Advaita sadhana, but accepting some provisional duality. Adhitya Shastrani, the guy who is the Adhikari, Medhavi, because he's in the Jnana Marga now. Medhavi Abhyasya cha Punaha Punaha. Then he also does Abhyasa. He does Manana, Shravana he does, then he meditates on it for Shanka Nivarana. Paramam Brahma Vijnaya. Then he does Nididhyasana. And he gets to know what is that Param Brahma. Paramam Brahma Vijnaya Ulkavat tani adho utsrajet. The best example is the commentator in the, when we go to the tika, the commentary, it will become evident. First, to begin with, Param Brahma Vijnaya, Paramam Brahma Vijnaya. Once we have Atma Jnana, then what happens? Ulkavat. Have you seen those meteors falling? And if you're cooking something, so you set up an oven and then you put some, if it's you're using firewood, so you are setting up a big kitchen because you have to give a feast. There is some bhandara or some puja, and you set up an oven, you start cooking all your dishes in big pans, big pots, and the feast is over. There is some fire. What do? Do you preserve those half burnt pieces of wood? No, you don't, because they're a threat. They actually extinguish the fire. They try to cover it with sand, or they try to cover it with, because there could be a fire accident otherwise, especially in summer. Very bad, very dangerous. So what do? They try to get rid of the fire. Ulkavat tani odho utsrujet. So you discard it. What do you discard it? The drishtanta, the example is about discarding burning charcoal. And in our context, what is it? All these shastras and other things that you read, you don't have to carry them anymore once you are perfected. If you are an acharya, out of compassion, you want to teach others, of course, you will still be keeping your books. Otherwise, you will, like, for example, those who are very old, retired professors and they cross their 80s and great professors, so they have great collection of books. What do? They donate it. So if you go to very ancient universities and colleges, they have collections of very renowned professors. So the books are properly protected and donated to the libraries. They don't need it anymore. The Brahmagyani doesn't need it. We will look at the commentaries later on, but let's first finish it. ग्रंथम अभ्यस्य मेधावी ज्ञान विज्ञान तत्परः पलालमिव धान्यार्थी त्यजेत ग्रंथ मशेषतः. Another example, the first one was from Amrita Nada Upanishad, and this one is from Brahma Vindu Upanishad. What is this sloka from the mantra from the Brahma Vindu Upanishad? Grantham abhyasya medhavi jnana vijnana tatparha san. First, he reads the Grantha, he does Artha Nirupana, then he does Sanka, Nirasana, he meditates and gets rid of all the doubts and apprehensions in his mind regarding the implication of it, consults the acharyas and experts, meditates on it further. Jnana Vijnana Tatparaha. Jnana is you try to know what is the subject matter. Vijnana is Opurakyartha or Anubhavatmaka. Yeah. So jnana is cognitive, vijnana is beyond what's cognitive. It's at the level of, it's very intimate upalabdhi. It's a realization. Jnana vijnana tatparaha palalamiva dhanyarthi. Again, example. What is the example? There's a farmer. So he harvests, and then he brings it. Then, he will put them in the thresher, he will remove, and then the rice bran and rice he separates. These days they are making rice bran oil and all, but what does he do with them? Discards them. They can be used for making bricks or anything, but he discards them. Palalamiva. He doesn't need them. Yeah. Similarly, the real Atmajnana, once we have got it, we don't stick to the upacharas, the accessories. What were necessary become accessory once we have got Atmajnana. Tyajet grantham asheshataha. He donates his books to others, gives it to the students. He doesn't need anything. He becomes a parivrajaka, or he just quietly sits somewhere. He doesn't teach anymore. And there is a phase when you need to keep all your books because people keep coming to you for clarification, or you are taking some classes. But there is a time when you don't need any of these. So you get rid of all your books from your room and you just quietly You just look at the life of Ramana Maharshi, Ramakrishna Paramahansa. They were not bookworms. They had finished their sadhana in their previous lives. So they were quietly sitting and meditating on the self, Asesada. And then he's quoting from Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad. तमेव धीरो विज्ञाय प्रज्ञां कुर्वीत ब्राह्मणः नानुध्यायेद बहून् शब्दान् वाचो विग्लापनं हि तत् तम एव धीरः तम एव विज्ञाय pragyam gurvita brahmana. You know what he's trying to say? That the student who is a real adhikari, he reads a lot of shastras, reads a lot of books and all, and then he gets the ultimate truth about the Atma. He gets Atma Gyan. Then what he does afterwards? Pragyam gurvita brahmana. You go beyond what can be referred to as intellectual conceptualization of what is Brahman to a level where you have pure awareness. You have that enlightenment. And that enlightenment is not cognitive. It is, in a way, one way to describe pure consciousness. That flourishes in us because all the adjectives and relationships associated with the consciousness are kind of dispelled, discarded. Therefore, saying Nanudhyayada Vahunu Shavdan. After that, don't read more books. If you have done Prajnanam Brahma, Tattvamasi, Ayamatma Brahma, and then you have Aham Brahmasmi, you focus on them. Pick up one of them, meditate. And there are so many Upanishads. You have 108, and then if you look at the Motilal Banarasidas, they have one in which they have compiled 266. There are 1080 Upanishads. If you want to be a scholar, read all of them. You have Shaiva Upanishads, you have Vaishnava Upanishads, you have Sakta Upanishads. These are Astika Upanishads, where importance is given to the idea of a Saguna Brahma, or God with some name and form. You have a lot of Upanishads which are kind of categorized as Sannyasa Upanishads. The subject matter of those Upanishads is how to lead the life of a sannyasi. They are also called Yoga Upanishads. So what do? Read all of them? He says, no. Once you have Atmagyana, you don't need to read them, repeat them anymore. Nanu dhyayeda vahunu shavda. Brihadaranya Upanishad says, don't read too much. Savadajalam maharanyam. Don't get into this jungle of words. Bacho biglapanam hitat. It's only tiring your own voice, tiring your own cognitive machinery or the tool God has given you. It's a wastage of your time. Once you have done it, why do you want to do it? No, there are another 5 ways I can write a commentary on it. Okay, go do it. That means you are still a scholar. You're not an Atmikyani. Therefore, he's saying, Vacho Biglapanam Hitat. There is, so he will stop all this. No. If he is an Acharya, he will still go and take classes, and he would make the students do, Shiva Mahimino Stotra Patha or Vedic chanting. He will do all that. Not because he needs them, not because they are in any way instrumental for his achieving or retaining enlightenment. Because enlightenment is not an object of sadhana. As I told you, this is actually a shorupa. Once we remove the ignorance, that dazzles, shines forth. Like a lamp is there and it's covered with the towel, you remove the towel, it shines forth. Similarly, the Swarupa is Swayam Prakasha. He doesn't need anything to achieve. Verse number 48. These are all given from different Upanishads. Tame Vekam Vijanitha Yanya Bacho Vimunchatha Yachedvang Manasi Pragyaha Ityadyaha Sritayaha Sputaha. This is from Mundaka Upanishad 2 to 5. Tam eva ekam vijanitha. No, only that one. He anya vacho vimunchata. Leave all other Vedanta. There are these Upanishads there, this is written there. In the beginning, there are a lot of people who want to impress others, especially students, new students. Those of you who are in the teaching profession, you know they're slightly bright students and they'll go and pick up books and this and that. Then they will trouble you. They'll come to you and say, "Sir, you said it in the class like this, but this book says this." The context will be different. You'll say, "Yeah, yeah, that's a very good thing, but the context is this." Then he goes back, he comes back. What about this book? Because he has actually not entered. Once he registers for PhD, he stops doing it. 2 years gone, another 2 years there to finish and submit his PhD thesis. Then you say you are wasting your time. You're doing too much of literature. Have you started doing your experiments? What are you doing? Then he's terribly focused. He stopped talking to people. He doesn't browse through different kinds of books and social media and AI and stuff like that. He's completely focused on whatever he's trying to achieve. Until then, he thinks tameva ekam vijanitha hi anya vacho vimunchata. Vimunchatha. So leave them aside. Don't get distracted. Yached vang manasi pragyaha. We'll have a little more detailed discussion on this. This is actually also sort of mentioned in Kathopanishad, if you remember. This is way of dissolving one level of engagement at a higher level of engagement. Vang manasi. First thing, whatever you're saying, all the external sense organs you have, dissolve them in the mind and then dissolve both them, karmendriyas and gyanendriyas, vang manasi, pragyaha, and then whatever, and then dissolve that in the Atman. You go to the most subtlest level of your intuitive realization. Ityadyaha shrutayaha sputaha. So do not try to distract your attention, your contemplation, your meditation from the Atma Tattva. Once you are there, discard everything else. Otherwise, you will not be able to reach there. Okay. Now we will go one by one because that's how the commentary is there. So first, let's do in a short way what we have done. About the sloka 44 in the end, I forgot to mention. You remember the Bhagavad Gita sloka, and that is also there in the Mundaka Upanishad. In a different set of words is there. Vidyate hridaya granthis chidyante sarva samsayaha shyante chasya karmani tasmin drishte paravare. Mundaka Upanishad. That is 2 to 8. So what does it say? That Viyante hridaya granthis, the ignorance which is there in the heart, that means in the mind, that is split asunder. Chidyante sarva samsayaha, and you are able to defeat all your doubts and apprehensions. These are big pratibandhakas. And then kshiyante chasya karmani, and then what? All the jnanagni destroys all the sanchita and the agami karmas. Prarabdha will continue. You cannot do anything because they have started giving their results. Kshiyante cha asya sadhakasya karmani tasmin drishte paravare. The para and apara brahman and also jiva, once he knows this distinction, he's focused on that, then he very quickly establishes himself and there is no problem. Okay, so you have that vijnanam anandam brahma aham brahmasmi, and he says that ratir dhatu parayanam tishtamanasya tadvida iti, that we have done it, that ultimately Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says when you meditate on that vijnanam anandam brahma ratihi dhatu parayanam tishtamanasya tadvida iti. So once you reach there, Kena Kampashet, what to see with what, because you are kind of beyond all the dualities. So here, very quickly, these 4 5 slokas. First one, uh, this Ulkavat word is there. Have you seen Ulka? The meteors falling, they get extinguished on the way. So this whole sadhana with Dvaita Prapancha accepting that as a provisional reality, it's like a torch which burns itself. That is a Ulkavat. Tani adha usrujet. Now, if you look at the commentary, uh, 45 1. Medhavi Buddhiman Sastrani Vedanta Sastrani. It's not about literature, philosophy, and geography and all you will read, but you will read Vedanta Sastrani. Abhyasya, when you study them. Guru Sannidhau Sampradaya Siddham Shravanam Kritva. Sampradaya Siddham. So you read whatever is preeminently accepted as prescribed, the Shriti Prasthana, something, whatever you want to do. Prasthana Trayi. Then you say Sampradaya Siddham Shravanam Krutva Punaha Punaha. Dridha Jnana Utpadana Paryantam Abhyasya. So your doubts should go and you should be firmly established on the truth. Means clarity is there. Mananam Kritva. So you have done Shravanam and then Mananam. Paramam Brahma Vijnaya Nididhyasanena. Finally, you will do contemplation intuitively. Nididhyasanena Sakhyat Kritya. Adha Tadanantaram. Atha Tadanantaram. Tadanantaram Tani Sastrani Annapachanantaram Ulkavat. Like, for example, after cooking is over, then you throw the pieces of wood with some fire or the burning charcoal. You don't need them. Ardha Dagdha Indhanam Iva. You had some fire of, the firewood and stuff like that. They are useless once your cooking is over. Utsrujet Visharjayet. And then in the verse number 46, what did we say? If we go up again, because we are doing Grantham Abhyasya Medhavi Jnana Vijnana Tatparaha Palalam Iva Dhanyarthi Tyajat Grantham Asishataha. Like after you have harvested and you have taken the rice out, you don't need to keep the bran with you, you discard them, give to the cattle, whatever. That he is explaining here. Yatha Dhanyarthi Tat Sangraha Anantaram. Dhanya Sangraha Anantaram. Sangraha is over, you have collected your rice. Palalam Iva Tusam Iva. Tusa, that particular, the husk or the bran, whatever, the husk he throws. Jnana Vijnana Tatparaha. Then he's explaining what is Jnana and Vijnana. Jnanam Sastra Janyam Jnanam. You read, you grasp, and you make sense of it. Vijnanam Anubhavajanyam. Then you meditate on it and then realize it. Jnana Vijnanam Tatparaha. Jnanam Tatparaha Grantham. You read that. Vedanta Sastram Abhyasya. Tad Anantaram Grantham Aseshatah Tyajet. You don't need to hold on to them. 46 is done. And what is the 47 one? Tamiva dhiro vigyaya pragyam kurvita brahmanaha nanodhyayad bahunusavadana vacho viglapanam hitat. Let's look at the commentary. What is it saying? Brahmanaha brahmano ayam brahmani nirato mumukshuhu tang pratyagatmanam vigyaya. Who is that Brahmana? It's not a person who is born as Brahmin or anything. It's essentially a very strong mumukshu, dedicated aspiration, strong aspiration for getting liberation. There's a beautiful story of Ramakrishna Paramahansa at the cost of having a mild distraction. I'm just sharing it because it's so, it is so interesting. So I'm just sharing it with you. So what is the story? The story is like this. So one businessman comes to Thakur and says, how to realize God? Then he says, okay, I will tell you how to realize God. Because I'm praying, I'm this and that, but I'm not realizing God. And he takes him to the Ganges and pushes his head in Ganga water. And then he's gasping for breath. He's desperate to come out of it. And he says, you can get God if you're so desperate for God. So that means if you are not desperate for it, you don't get it. So that means you have to be one pointed. That's what he's saying. Mumukshu tam pratyagatmanam vijnaya. Now here Brahman is not different from us. So that pratyagatma, which is not different from Paramatma, that aikya bodha is the critical thing. Pratyagatmanam vijnaya. Now not through reading. Vijnaya vistarena jnatva. Once you have known it, pragyam kurvita. What do you mean by pragyam? Because reading is over. Then he has contemplated, he has realized the truth. Pragyam chitta ekagryam kurvita sampades. He will dwell on that truth. That is nididhyasana. So ultimately he'll just dwell on that. So any viparita bhavana, and he'll watch his mind, where his thoughts are going, what is happening, and he'll test how good he is. Like, if you're a civil engineer, after erecting a house or a building or a bridge, these days we are not doing it very well. One of the reasons many of the bridges are collapsing, very poor quality of work. But they do structural strength test, which is it going to hold or not. So they try to evaluate how good is it structurally. And then they do a lot of tests on the material itself. Big engineering firms, they look at this: is this concrete going to hold for 200 years? So accordingly they'll develop the material, so far the construction can happen. And especially when they're doing the big bridges which run through areas where there is heavy snow or icebergs. Just imagine in the northern sea and stuff like that, and some of the engineering marvels you'll see, they do big experimentations, because it's quite possible that a huge iceberg comes and hits the particular bridge and the bridge gets destroyed. But then they give it that kind of structural strength that the iceberg will break into pieces, will flow through the bridge, the spans, but it will not destroy the bridge. So you need to have that kind of planning. Similarly, he's saying pragyam means what? Chitta ekagyam kurvita sampadayat. Try to be in that still, remain still there. But it's not yogic stillness. It's not. It's just sustaining, remaining there, in the sense abiding in that Brahman. And he's saying Vahuna Savdan Anyan Api Upanishad Bhagan. But there are several Upanishads and there are several words. Mahavakya Upapadakan Na Anudhyayet. Once you have got it, then there are another 20 ways in which same Brahman is explained, but don't waste your time on that. Tad dhyanam vacho Vag indriyasya viglapanam shrama hetu. Vacho viglapanam hetat means shrama hetu. Unnecessarily you will read and waste your time. There's no need for it. He nishayarthe. Verse number 47. Let's look at the 48. Tameva ekam vijanitha hyanya vacho vimunchata. That is the main advice. Only focus on Brahman and discard all other sentences and stuff like that. Brahmana, Brahmano ayang Brahmani niruto, oh, that we have done. Ekam advitiyam tam aupanishadam purusham vijanitha aveta. Why do we say aupanishadam purusha? Because purusha word is written in many shastras. In tantric texts and Sankhya texts, purusha word is there. But aupanishadam purusha means that param brahman nirvikara, advaita paraka. That Brahman. He's saying tam ekam eva advitiyam, ekam advitiyam tam aupanishadam purusham vijanitha aveta. Try to know. Anya atad vishayika. Tad is atad vyavartaka jnana. Atad means tad. Tad is that atma. Atad is other than. That means anatma. Atad vishayika. What is atad? Atad vishayika. There are so many sentences in the Vedas, such as on karma kandas they have mentioned. You do this and you will go to Swarga. Vedanti will do all this. No, they are meant for the karma kandis who have not yet purified their antakaranas. Atad vishayika vachaha, those words, those sentences. Anya atad vishayika vacho mahavakya upapadakan anyan api upanishad bhagan vimunchata. So here it seems to be mahavakya upapadakan. I personally would suggest maybe it's mahavakya anupapadakan, because mahavakya, you say that obviously they're talking about the param brahma. I am not sure, but I'll do a bit more research, because this is one text on which there is no external commentary or anything. A Mahavakya Upapadakan Anyanapi Upanishad Bhagan, he's saying it should be perhaps Mahavakya Anupapadakan. Tam eva ekam janatha atmanam anya vacha vimunchata. That is the Mundaka Upanishad 2 to 5. So only know whatever is Atma Paraka is talking about the ultimate self. Don't waste your time and attention on other sets of statements. Evam jatiyakaha shrutayah bhvyah santi ityaha. So there are so many, then he's saying, Mahavakya Upapadakan is fine. He's saying there are so many other statements about Brahman. Once you know that, there is no point again and again repeating and reinventing the wheel. यच्छेतिति इत्याद्यः एवं प्रकारकः श्रुतेः स्फुटः स्पष्टं वर्तते श्रुत्यर्थस्तु प्राज्ञः वाक् तद उपलक्षितानि इंद्रियाणि मनसि यच्छेत विलापयेत dissolve that. Karmendriyas, Gyanendriyas come to the mind, dissolve it there. That means go to that level. Chandosotra dirgha. And he's saying tanmano jnana atmani jnana rupe yached vilapayet. Tanmanaha, that means jnana. And atmani jnana rupe, such, that satyam jnanam anantam brahma. You try to dissolve it there. That means first you stay at the level of cognitive engagement, but you also discard it to be one with it. Atmaneva vilapayet. Vang manasi darsana sabdadibhya ityatra vivakshitam ityapi atra vivakshitam vang manasi. Darsanat shabdadibhya, darsana sabdadibhya. Because here there is a Brahma Sutra discussion. I'm not digressing too much there, but ultimately the advice is that prakriyas are manifold. Intellectual churning of the same destination idea can be manifold. We have to take a call as to where we want to stop and where we want to completely focus on the main idea or the main advice. Now, there is a bit of summary of all this, and we will read that. And before we go to the next verse, Atra idam bodhyam. What is the summary of all these four Vedantic Upanishadic statements? Eteihi shlokehi, why these shlokas? Naiskarmya Siddhi Hetu Bhutaha. To get Naiskarmya Siddhi, the title of a very famous book by Sureshwara Acharya. Naiskarmya Siddhi is where there is nothing more to be done because you are firmly established in the Atmajnana, Bhutaha, Sarvakarma Sannyaso Abhito Bhavati. All these Upanishads are saying you have to do Sarvakarma Sannyasa, neither any Bahiranga sadhana nor any Antara sadhana other than Shravana Manan and Dhyasana, and that also you have exhausted. So you just have to dwell in that ultimate state of being one with the Brahman. Nanu, Sarvakarma Sannyasa Sastra Anuvimata Eva. But there is a doubt in the mind of the student. Let me just look at the other commentaries if I missed out on anything. Um, yeah, so we have done it that Jnana Vijnana Tatparaha Bahunu Shabdan. There is nothing here. Yeah, there is some extra commentary that Vacho Biglapanam Hitat, because he's saying that the Mahavakya has already generated the result. That once you know this is the outcome, let's imagine that there are three mechanical methods of producing one particular thing. There are three experiments you can do. And you did a short experiment, you did it in a very beautiful way, your results are good, you have confirmed it. Okay, let's do it another 5 ways. You did 3 ways, you finished it. Then do another experiment. How many times you will do it? You can do another 50 experiments. Conclusions are known. Your sample size was good. You don't do it. But in the Vedanta, it's even superior than that. Once you have Atmajnana, so everything else becomes superfluous. Then there is no need for any further Shastra Vichara except as compassion, as your kindness to other students. You will do Shastra Vichara for others. For yourself, you don't need. You don't need any of this. So pragyo vak tada upalakhitani indriyani manasi yachet. So once you withdraw your attention from the external reality through sense perception, and then in the mind, and then you so that is how he's mentioning. And then sort of the mind you then dissolve in that Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman, and ultimately this whole vritti and everything you also discard, and it's there in the ultimate level of unity. and there is nothing much. So there is nothing more. So let me look at the Sanskrit commentary only. So the summary of it. अत्र इदं बोध्यम एतैः श्लोकैः निष्क्रमसिद्धिः भूतः सर्वकर्मसन्न्यासो अभीतो भवति. सर्वकर्मसन्न्यास is advised. Now the doubt, ननु सर्वकर्मसन्न्यासः शास्त्र अनभिमत एव. Where did you read that सर्वकर्मसन्न्यास? Sarvakarma is advised. Where did you read in the Shastras? That is the doubt. Therefore, the Acharya is explaining Karmanopi Shastra Choditatvat, the doubt in the minds of the student, because karma you should do. There are a lot of vakyas in the Upanishads. Avidyaya murtyam tirtva vidyaya amritam ashnute. Isha Upanishad, 11th verse. The 11th mantra says, Avidyaya means kama and karma kanda. Mrityum tirtva vidyaya amritatvam asnute. You will get liberation through vidya, through atma jnana, through jnana yoga. In very layman's language, I am saying. Iti vidya vidyayor mukhya upakarakattvasya shrutatvat. Both karma kanda and jnana kanda, both are very useful for mukhya, because there is a step called avidya. Karmakanda is a necessary component of your sadhana for moksha. So why do you say that you don't have to do it? Kurban evah karmani jijiviset satakang samaha. There is another such statement, same place, that you live for 100 years by doing all these karma kandas which require external engagement. Yava jivam agnihotram juhoti. This is also Veda statement, that until you are alive, you have to do agnihotra, nitya agnihotra, you have to do that karma. Tam yajna patrehi dahanti iti anekehi mantravarnehi. There are so many statements in the Vedas. Yajna patrehi dahanti. You know, so all these statements are mentioned that till we are dead, we have to do different karmas, where fire and water and all that, these are useful. He's saying, Barnehi Adeha Patam, till the body falls, Nitya Kartavyataya Karma Vidhyate iti chet. So this is Jnana Karma Samuchayavadis, who believe that you read Upanishads, you do Vedanta, but Karma Kand karna hoga. You have to do your Karma Kandas. Iti chet, that is the doubt in the minds of the student. Should I discard? Because Arjuna also had this problem. He asked Bhagavan, what happens to me? I will take sannyasa, then I'm starting this meditative practices, Sravana Manana Didhyasana. I'm not doing any karma, so I'll not go to Swarga. And then I fail, or I do not complete this new course. Where do I go? I neither can go to Swarga, then I'll go to hell. What happens to me? That is his doubt. Tasya avidya vishayatva. The teacher says, no, you are unnecessarily confusing yourself. These statements are there. Yes, I don't challenge. They are there in the Upanishads. He's saying, Tasya avidya vishayatvat. Any of these statements, these karmic injunctions about karmas, they are meant for the people who are avidwan. They are not vigya, they are agya. They do not know what the self is. They have not studied Bhagavad Gita. They haven't properly studied the Upanishads. They are karma kandis. So it's meant for them. Like for example, we are doing Vedanta satsang, but there are quite a few people who just call me up and says, business में पैसा नहीं आ रहा है, स्वामी जी कुछ advice करो. Now you tell them Vedanta, will they understand? So what will I tell them very honestly? I'll say, okay, do a Rudra Abhishek, do Chandi Path, or do this mantra jap. What else can you tell them? Because they want money. They are not interested in all this. They have their own set of problems. Therefore, you have to give accordingly. So you may be a professor who is dealing with very difficult diseases, like you are an oncologist, you are dealing with cancer, but somebody has cold. One of your relatives calls up, uncle, I'm having severe cold. What should I do? So would you prescribe chemotherapy for him? No. Or radiation therapy? No. What do you prescribe? You say take paracetamol or take some Allegra and stuff like that, antihistamines. You just want to address that minor problem, isn't it? Therefore, he's saying, Tasya avidya vishayatvat. Grihastha praptam sarva panktadi lakshanam karma. So when you are in grihastha panktadi, so you're sitting in rows and having this bhojanam and bhandaras and giving, giving some brahmana bhojana on Shraddha Divasa, Pitrupakhi and etc. These are for grihasthas, not for sannyasis. Jaya me syadatha praja yeya etavan ve kamaha Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. I want to do punya karma, so I need a wife. Why? I also need a child. All this is there. For whom? For the jnani? No. That's for the karmi. Iti jaya putra vittadi sadhya sadhana nivaddho kama prapto grihastha. It looks like raw. It should be calm. So jaya putra vitta. So you have putreshana, vitteshana, lokeshana. These are the eshana traya. Three kinds of aspirations people have: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So for dharma, you need a wife because she has to be there to look at the ghee so it gets purified. Without a wife, you cannot do any yajna karma. You need a putra also for agnihotra. So jaya, putra, and vitteshana. You need wealth to do all these pujas. And then itadi, adi will add, lokeshana also will add. Adi sadhya sadhana nivaddho. Atma is not sadhya. Anything which you try to achieve is not going to be permanent. You are trying to know the Atma. That Upalabdhi is again discovering and knowing, recognizing your Swarupa. Nibaddho Kama Prapta Grihastha. That is the Grihastha when you are, householder. Evam sarvam panktam karma kamyameva. All these Vedic karmas are kamya karmas. There are few nitya karmas also. Bhagavan Bhashyakara says that doing these nitya karmas, it's not only removing pratyavaya, but antakarana suddhi also happens because there is no karma which doesn't give you some positive benefits. But the Mimamsaka says nitya karmas prevent you from suffering negative consequences. There is no positive consequence of nitya karma, but Bhagavan Bhashyakara Shankaracharya says, no, no, there's a lot of good thing. You wake up early morning, do nitya karmas, your antakarana shuddhi also happens. Tatacha shruti. Ube hyete eshane eva. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 4.4.22 is saying that these are all eshanas. Eshanas are ragataha prapta. Eshana comes from where? Because of raga, your purva sanskara. Raga, ragastu ajnana mulakaha. Where do you get craving? Once you know the Atma, you will be interested in doing yajna and go to Swarga. What is Swarga for him? Ajnana mulakaha. Aptakamasya, the one who has established himself in Atma Jnana, he's a Aptakama. He's a Kritakritya. Whatever has to be done, he has already done it. We have read it in Bhagavad Gita. Aptakamasya jnaninaha abhidyayaha anupapattehe. The one who is Aptakama has fulfilled all his goals. He is no more interested in samsara. So abhidyayaha anupapattehe. You cannot see ignorance in him. Anyatha शास्त्रस्य विरुद्धार्थ बोधकत्वापत्तिः स्यात्. Otherwise, Shastra will have two things saying. At one point says only focus on Atma Jnana, know the Brahman, then it says do Yajna and all. One fellow cannot do both. Therefore, he is saying, Duram ete piparite vishuchi avidya yacha vidye. Kathopanishad. One is karma, one is jnana. They are in opposite directions. How can one person go in both the directions? Ityadi shrutivihi vidya vidyayor. Vidya and avidya. Karma and jnana. Yugapat ekatra anavasthanam eva avidiyate. It cannot be in one person. One person cannot be an expert in theoretical physics and practical experimentation. They are two different things. Either you go in this direction, you go in the other direction. Tapasa Brahma Bijigasasasva iti Brahma Jnana Avaptaye Shravanadhyatmakam Tapaha. What is the tapasya here? It's not sitting in yogic posture and doing pranayama. Here is contemplative. Tapaha sadhanam. Then he's saying karma itaram margam upadishtam cha. And this particular tapaha, which is advised, it is not rituals for karma. It's different from it. It's a path which is non-ritualistic. It's meditative. It's contemplative. Evam karmanah jnanasya pratibandhakatvam ta suchyate. Then karmas will become an obstruction for jnana. Too much of distraction, external orientation is not anukula. It's not going to be conducive for contemplative engagement. That is how, If you want to do some spiritual work, you want to write, you say, no, no, I can't be at home. I'm going to go and sit in a library or go and sit in a ashram or anything. Then another doubt he comes. Tarhi chodana shastram sarvam nirarthakam eva syad iti chet. Then all these injunctions which are there in the Vedas, so they are fruitless, unnecessarily they're given. He says, no, no, it's not that. Na ki- kimapi nyukta shastram pravrittim prati. If there is something, like for example, you are hungry, you want to eat, why should Veda give you any advice? You will eat. Does Veda says you should sleep in the evening? No, anyway, it will give some guidance as to when to sleep. That is saying, Kintu सहज राग प्राप्ताम ताम अनुसरतः विदुषः प्रयोजनाय विधि निषेध वाक्यैः व्यवस्थां कल्पयति निरर्थकम एव भवतु नाम विदुषः सर्वचोदना शास्त्रम. For the guy who is still ignorant, in order to regulate his life and provide him a context for ascent spiritually, all these injunctions about karmas are given. He will do these karmas. Like one guy wants to be a sannyasi. First, he is given what? You do this seva.